As we continue our assessment of every NFL team entering the 2024 season, it's time to talk head coaches. So we're going to rank them all today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Joe, happy Gladiator 2 trailer release day to you.
Really?
Just dropped about 30 minutes ago, yeah.
I didn't know that this was in the works. Russell Crowe, is he back?
No, it's a continuation of the story. I guess the main character was the young boy that Maximus was trying to impress his wisdom on.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of the movie.
Okay.
Denzel Washington's in it, which I'm very fired up about, like a blockbuster Denzel movie.
That feels like a very different role for Denzel. Which
Pedro
I'm excited
Pascal.
No idea.
Yeah, you do. You'd know him if you saw him. But I don't expect you to know any of the movies or work that he's done recently.
No.
You know him. He's the Viper from Game of Thrones.
Imagine thinking I remember
the mountain and beat the mountain, then he got cocky and had his head popped off.
Yeah, that was unfortunate series.
That's Pedro Pascal.
Very good. I am going to go to the movies in a couple weeks. I'm going to go see the Twisters movie, man. Right, going to go see it. Yeah, going to go see it.
All I've ever heard, I've not been to the movies in years, is how terrible the in-theater movie experience is. I'm going to test it myself because I'm going to go see Deadpool.
How could it be any different than it's always been? There's a big screen. There's stadium seating. You walk in and you sit and watch a movie.
Price? I guess people don't know how to smuggle food in the way that.
Yeah, well, what are you talking about? You go to CVS beforehand? Right? What are you talking about?
Wear a hoodie. Doesn't matter how because it's going to be cold in the theater, right? You got to have the hoodie with the pocket in the front.
Dude, you nailed it. Well, this was very much a staple of our age group growing up, right? You went to movies all the time. All the time. This new age of people didn't go to the movies like we did, so they don't know all the tips.
Right. Yeah, don't roll up with an open wallet expecting to hand over fist cash to the theater for concessions, right? Maybe you get a large soda, but drinking a soda at the theaters is a bad strategy anyway, because then you're going to have to get up and go to the bathroom during the movie.
Yeah, there's no getting up and leaving the theater. If I'm going to the movies, I'm not. I'm just going to choose to miss this part. Are you kidding me?
Right. Dude, I'm like that with movies and airplane rides. I don't drink the entire day until after it's done.
Yeah, dude, going in there, that's dicey in an airport. What's also weird for me is people that get up and go to the bathroom during football games. What do you
like when you're there live and you go to a game?
Yeah, or if it's your favorite team, you're going to miss a play?
Wait till a commercial break, right? You get a commercial break every 3 plays, it feels like. At least you could just wait till a commercial break.
I was at someone's house. It was on Thanksgiving, and they were
a fan. Year or the year before?
No, this was several years ago.
Okay.
They were a fan of the team that was playing. They were watching their favorite team on Thanksgiving. I kid you not. They left the house to go next door to go check on something with the neighbor and missed minutes of the game. I'm like, is this real life?
It can wait. Right?
Your team is on freaking Thanksgiving playing in front of the world.
Yeah. No,
but anyways, what are you doing? There's people that miss plays.
If you go when you're there in person, you'll miss a quarter because the line's in the bathroom.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Your best strategy is probably wait till the last 5 minutes at halftime and hope that the line died down. and then get in line, and maybe you just miss kickoff for the second half. Anyway,
yeah,
it's a lot of strategy involved. There's also strategy involved in coaching football games, which is going to get us back on track here because we are doing head coach assessments and rankings and tiering here on today's episode of Locked On NFL Scouting. We did this with quarterbacks yesterday, but Joe and I each had our own individual list where we tiered the head coaches on a 5-point scale. The best coach got 5 points. The worst coach got a half a point. And everybody else fell somewhere in between. And the objective was to take the average of those rankings to get ourselves kind of a hierarchy of NFL head coaches. This is going to be a part of the scoring for our in-season power rankings. We are done with the rosters, but now we have to apply the coaching lens with both head coaches and offensive and defensive play callers. And that will be the end of the power rankings journey for us, just in time for the start of training camp here in the next 2 weeks. And we're going to dive into head coaches here today on the show.
You'll never guess who we have at number 1.
I can.
Well, yeah.
It's Andy Reid. It's Big Red.
It's Big Red.
The Kool-Aid guy.
Heck of a career,
Incredible
man.
resume.
Yeah. Do you wonder sometimes if he never got Patrick Mahomes, like, is he still coaching?
He's probably not still coaching, right? Yeah. I'd like to think he still would have won at least one big one because of how good he was in Philadelphia for so long.
Yeah.
And then they were good. I mean, they were good in Kansas City. He has had one season in Kansas City since 2013 where they didn't have double-digit wins. They'd have figured it out one year, right? They just wouldn't be a dynasty, and he still wouldn't be going at 65, 66 years old.
I stop short of saying they'll figure it out one year, Kyle Crabbs. I don't live in that world. It's not cyclical. It's not ever supposed to be your turn, right? That's not how it goes.
Right. That's a good point.
You got to think that the longevity of his career is heavily influenced by Patrick Mahomes. Like, he stumbles into this guy, 60-something years old, and you got to ride the wave. You can't retire if Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback,
right.
Can you?
How easy is it to just get geared up in season? You're going to win double-digit games and win your division as is. It's like, all right, let's just get it right for the postseason, figure it out, and then we'll go, and it'll be go time, and we'll play for keeps when it actually counts.
It's such a big job, though. You know what I mean? Like being an NFL head coach, the hours, the wear, and it's a lot.
I'd like to think when you've been at it for 25 years, though, like you have it down to a system as efficiently as possible. They've got a bunch of assistants that have been a part of that hierarchy. Yeah. The play at the quarterback position makes your life a little easier, right? Everybody's decision. If you're going to start a franchise, who'd you pick a quarterback? Is the guy who makes it the most dummy-proof. And that's not to say Andy Reid's not a phenomenal play caller, because he is.
Yeah.
But it becomes... the floor is so high as a result. And Andy Reid, rightfully so, still rolling. I mean, you heard some whispers of the retirement word in the past, year and a half? Keep riding the way, dude. 2-time defending Super Bowl champions. Keep going.
Yeah. That's what I do. Okay, so he gets 5 points. He's the one. He's the tier all by himself. Then we get to this next bucket that includes... Go ahead.
Sorry.
All right.
Andy Reid's challenge record. Have you looked at this?
I don't know what it is.
He is better than 50% in career challenges for his career across 125 or 143 challenges in 25 years.
Well, Kyle Crabbs, as fans of the coaches that have the 2 worst challenge records in the history of the NFL, congratulations, Andy.
Yeah, that's stood out to me.
You and I can,
like,
we can bond,
dude.
Hey, add it to the Suck Olympics. You know what I mean? We got a nice thing going with the losses to Urban Meyer, the path for Kansas City to win the Super Bowl last year, and our head coaches suck at challenging.
They just throw them away, right? They use it as an extra timeout, I guess, from time to time. Why not throw the flag? Yeah. We don't need the timeouts. It's first half anyway.
It's like, I think they're both under 30% or something. It's like, is this real life?
He's 35 for 61 in 11 years in Kansas City.
Yeah. Outstanding.
Very good.
Andy Reid, good all the way around. All right. Obviously, we've got 31 more coaches to get to, so be sure to stick with us. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And in fact, they got some fun football's futures bets. We're talking coaches today, so I had to go and look and see who the favorites are for coach of the year. Here's the top 5. Number 1, Jim Harbaugh, plus 900. Then you have Raheem Morris and Matt Eberflus at plus 1,000. Then DeMeco Ryans and Shane Steichen both at plus 1,400. Kyle is smiling. I'm putting my money in on Steichen at plus 1,400.
They got Jim Harbaugh as the odds-on favorite to be head coach of the year.
Yeah.
Kick rocks.
Okay. Kyle Crabbs' money will not be on Jim Harbaugh.
Sniff my money. Get out of here.
If you want to sniff that, check out FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Call the gaming commission. They're stealing your money if you're betting on Jim Harbaugh to be
riding the hot hand, baby.
What hot hand?
What hot momentum? The momentum. It's not a high. I should have said momentum. Riding momentum, right?
Of what?
Of Harbaugh. He always wins.
You're back to square one.
Dude, I know what we think of the Chargers.
Right.
But maybe that's the reality. Maybe Jim Harbaugh is this godsend. They're going to go win 13 games, win the West.
They'll still kiss his feet. They win 8 games.
Listen,
what an incredible job. He didn't have the talent on the roster. Or then, heaven forbid, they win double-digit games and make the playoffs. Oh, it's unbelievable. Harbaugh. And we like Jim Harbaugh. It's hard to rank him in this hierarchy.
Extremely hard, yeah.
He checks in as a fringe top 10 coach for us both, respectively. Without kind of the recent proof of concept. It's been a decade since he's been in the league. But nevertheless, you mentioned the momentum of him in every place that he's been. It's been successful, and you'd like to think that will continue with the Chargers. I just don't know how much of it's going to happen in year one, let alone coach of the year odds-on favorite.
Spoiler, he's number 11 on our list. He gets 3.25 points. The next bucket after Andy Reid is two coaches, Sean McVay, John Harbaugh, both at 4.5. A couple of Super Bowl winning coaches, a couple of guys that, I mean, I have a ton of respect for both of these guys, and I kind of want to lean into Sean McVay. He's been able to get, 2 different team nucleuses to the Super Bowl in a very short period of time. His fingerprints are all over the NFL. I think he's as influential of a figure in the league as there is. And he wins.
And what I like about Sean, too, is he has not been afraid of forging his own path off of this Shanahan tree, too, right? You've seen more ideological shifts with Sean than I think the other guys maybe combined. When you consider Kyle and Matt LaFleaur and Mike McDaniel and how they have overlap but still uniqueness, I think McVay has really put his own spin and flavor on this. And part of this is what happens when you have been somewhere for 7 years, right? Like it takes time for that to happen. But he has had the success to allow it to happen to the degree in which it now has for him in the Rams.
Promoting coaches, defensive coaches too, left and right. I mean, I've looked at this roster for several years and had a lot of questions. They still win, man. What do they get out of all that young talent last year, man? They got a good thing going there. And then Harbaugh's like, obviously, he transcends everything. You talk about winning with different environments around you. I mean, he's just done that time and time again. So
him and Mike Tomlin are in that same boat, and Tomlin checks in 5th for us, right? Like you mentioned the top 3, and then a Shanahan, Tomlin, Payton is kind of the next like sub tier down.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh came in front of Tomlin for me just because I think Harbaugh got a lot of the coaching staff stuff right. They had the transition from Wink at defensive coordinator. They had the transition this past year at offensive coordinator. They pulled some strings there, and those were successful moves where you reflect on Tomlin and the offensive coordinator situation with Matt Canada and holding on to that too long. I think that was enough for me to kind of split them into like, look, you're both still top 5, top 6 coaches in the NFL, but Harbaugh gets a little bit more juice for me for his staff moves and personnel that have allowed Baltimore to kind of have some booms as far as coaching and the impact on their units.
I feel like Mike Tomlin is hard for the NFL community at large. I don't quickly overlook the consistent success of winning. I mean, just every year, right? We talk about he shows up with 9 wins. That's not lost on me. And I know that the last handful of years haven't looked the same as maybe early tenure Mike Tomlin with vintage Ben Roethlisberger, right? Like that, it's obviously different. But this dude getting into the playoffs last year with 3 different quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky, getting to the playoffs with late career Ben Roethlisberger. If you care about leadership, Mike Tomlin has to be high on your list.
He's the best leader / players coach in the league.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
In my opinion.
There's a lot of Steelers people that do not like Mike Tomlin. I'm friends with a lot of Steelers fans that wish he was fired, and they're mad that he just got an extension.
You know, this is going to be, you do this, you're going to be Eagles fans looking back on Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I promise you. The grass is not greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Now, are there some fundamental changes that maybe Pittsburgh can do to kind of learn how to run again as far as like big picture success? Yeah. I think that this is the blessing and the curse of being so consistently competitive for so long, which you're kind of stuck in the middle a little bit. You either have to get lucky or you have to make some big changes and some big splashes. I don't think they've done either one.
So our next sub tier, this is a really interesting group for me. It includes Matt LaFleaur.
How far down are you going? To 10?
Yeah, I'm going to go until Harbaugh.
Okay.
Matt LaFleaur, Sean McDermott, Dan Campbell, Kevin Stefanski. So much to like from every one of these guys, and they've all been close, right? They've all been close. Who's going to have the breakthrough out of this group of coaches that have had tons of regular season success? There's been playoff success amongst them. Who's going to have the big breakthrough and get into this higher up tier?
So what are you classifying as a breakthrough? I'm guessing a championship?
Yeah, going to the Super Bowl.
Okay. You feel like Detroit's probably the best positioned out of that group this year, right?
In the NFC? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, them, and if Jordan Love is who we think he is with Matt LaFleur, who's been a consistent winner. And look, if you win enough games to get a home field advantage playing in Green Bay, that's one of the better home field advantages in all football, right? So yeah. I think that cuts both ways for both of those NFC North teams.
And for Stefanski, I mean, has won despite not having quarterback play. And he's an offensive-minded coach, and he's getting, like last season, no Nick Chubb. Quarterbacks are a mess.
Right.
I mean, 2-time coach of the year, right, in a very short period of time. A lot of respect for what he's done. Obviously, Dan Campbell, Sean McDermott, a lot of consistency there. Waiting for the breakthrough from all these guys, and we'll see who that next one is. And then, of course, we've already said Jim Harbaugh's at number 11.
I think the thing I do wonder is if Stefanski isn't getting a little too much recency bias. I mean, there's no question the job that they did last year to win 11 games was incredible. You lose Nick Chubb early. You have the offensive line injuries that they have. You acknowledge their tackle situation got really dicey and ugly towards the end of the year. The quarterback situation being what it was as well. I think the defense did a lot of the heavy lifting for them in stretches last year. They were the first ranked team in yards, and they were 5th in takeaways. So I think that helps. I think if I were to look at our top 10, and I put him in the same spot that you did. I actually think I had him 12 or 13, but our average of them put him at 10. That would be the one where I do kind of look at and I'm like, well, you have 2 winning seasons. They were incredible seasons that you had as winning seasons, but you had 2 kind of pseudo 500 seasons in between there, or sub 500 seasons in there as well. But if they come out and they live up to expectations from a roster perspective, especially when you take the quarterback out of the equation, which they have been able to mitigate to some degree with how they play with the rest of their defense and their ability to run the ball. They come out, they have double-digit wins and are competitive again. I certainly think we're in the right ballpark and stratosphere for sure.
he's the guy I feel least good about in the top 10. I certainly agree there. If I were to go to bat for him, I bring up 2 talking points. Of course, one being quarterback play and how it hasn't been there for him. And we talk about how everybody knows how important quarterback plays. The other thing is this is a really tough division as well that he's been in. And for him to like be at least average to above average every year, despite some of his own circumstances, that kind of helps me lean into it a little bit.
We'll go the rest of the way after the break.
Yeah, we did it again. We got a lot to get to in segment 3, so be sure to stick with us.
Boy. Our next sub-tier, you'd probably classify as just 2 names, right? 11 and 12. Because you have a big block of guys that are all kind of tied in the next point block down. Right now, we're through 3 1/4 points is what's been given as far as the averages out of a 5-point scale. 3 1/4 is Jim Harbaugh, and 3 points is Mike McDaniel. So those are our 11 and 12 on the average consensus rankings between the two of us on that 5-point scale before you get very crowded where you have 5 names kind of in the next tier down below that. But I think the point delineation of 3 out of 5 and above, we get 12 names on that list. And the only 2 we hadn't mentioned was Harbaugh, who we talked about was a little bit more challenging to kind of gauge. And then Mike McDaniel, who when we do the offensive play caller grading, I think will be much more favorable in the scoring than I think some of the questions from a game management standpoint, the timeout, the late play calls that get in, and then, of course, the late season success resume for Mike in Miami, which just those are some of the questions that exist with Mike McDaniel right now.
Yeah, he's the reason why Miami is an exciting team. He's also a bit of the reason why you say, I'm not sure, right? So,
no more goal line fades on the 2, please.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like, obviously you watch the Dolphins more than anybody in the world, and I watch a lot of the Dolphins. Like, I don't know if we're just like more dialed into some of that because of the exposure, but like,
oh no. There's Dolphins fans that are asking if the Dolphins don't win a playoff game this year, if Mike McDaniel's gonna be fired.
Oh,
so
yes, please. As a Bills fan, I'd love to see Mike McDaniel and all this crazy stuff out of the AFCs. Yeah, that'd be good.
Right.
I like this next tier. It's a 2.75 tier where we have some really good young coaches, DeMeco Ryans, Kevin O'Connell, and then maybe you would disagree, but Zac Taylor and Doug Pederson's also in this 2.75 bucket. I think the exciting coaches are Ryans and O'Connell. Ryans coming off of a great introductory season with the Texans, winning a playoff game, right? In year 1, expectations are high. I'd be very curious to see how that team responds, because not only are expectations high, they're enjoying the hype train, man. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't call the Houston Texans a humble and hungry operation, right? They're ready to go. So you better deliver on that.
Well, Ian Rappaport just went on NFL Network and talked about during his time, like in Birmingham covering Alabama, like the Nick Saban rat poison thing. And he just talked about that with the Texans.
Yeah.
And the avoiding eating the rat poison that exists this offseason for them.
Kevin O'Connell, dude, like 20-14 in 2 seasons, obviously heavily year 1 was big on that and certainly a crazy season, but like the continuous ability to kind of figure it out that season and win close games, but then the next year to have your quarterback go down, Justin Jefferson's not available, transitioning on the defensive side of the football. They were a pretty respectable team when they were
76 going into overtime.
Right. I mean, they made a calculated choice to stay true to their vision with taking some concessions with talent, and they were still no pushover. I mean, we'll see. I mean, now they got to get their quarterback going, right? But I'd be pretty excited if I was a Vikings fan and Kevin O'Connell was my coach.
Yeah. I mean, just from a raw passing production standpoint last year, this team passed for 4,700 yards and 30 touchdowns. You tell most fans of your team you're going to get that kind of production in the passing game, you'd be like, okay, let's go.
Josh Dobbs and the BYU quarterback that was a rookie.
Four quarterbacks started multiple games for the Vikings.
Come on. What? Yeah. And your Justin Jefferson's hurt.
And Jaron Hall was one of them. And Nick Mullins was another one.
And Alexander Madison was your running back.
Stop. We were doing so good not mentioning the name here on the show.
All right. Zac Taylor and Doug Pederson are part of this group. These are two of the coaches that
I want more. Okay. I know you guys have it in you. I want more.
Yeah, I feel that way definitely about Doug Pederson. It's hard to look at. I mean, Doug Pederson has two major black eye seasons. His last one in Philadelphia and last year with Jacksonville. And you just kind of worry. You just kind of worry though, like the more he's involved, he kind of catches that lightning in the bottle.
The question is the longer it goes and the more your fingerprints get on it. That was a trend in Philadelphia. And now don't let that be the trend here in Jacksonville. Right. But you saw the way the wheels fell off the bus for them last year. And I know Trevor Lawrence was banged up. But still, you were expecting more than 2 9-8 seasons for Doug coming in. And it looked like they were really going to turn the corner this year. This past year.
8-3.
Yeah. They were first place in the conference through week 11 or week 12.
Zac Taylor, obviously a horrible start in Cincinnati. They get Joe Burrow. All of a sudden he's a better coach, right? I think last year said a lot to me about Zac Taylor. They were a very respectable team despite a lot of adversity. I think he's had a lot of adversity that he's had to deal with. I think he's got the worst job of being a head coach in football, having to work with that owner and how they operationally run and what we know that is required of that head coach. And for him to, look, what is he? Was he 5-2 in the postseason?
He is, yeah.
And Joe Burrow not even playing that, has not been good in the postseason. Maybe you give some of that credit to the defensive coordinator, but I don't know. We have Zac Taylor at 15. I was a little higher on him than you were.
Mm-hmm.
I think I kind of went through the contrast that exists with Zac Taylor. Maybe you have some bigger concerns there.
Well, no, it's the efficiency of the passing offense the past 2 years. And I understand, even just like Joe Burrow as a whole, not, they lost Joe for a significant chunk of the year last year. The splits for 2020 and 2021 Joe when he played versus 2022 and 2023 Joe. I've done some research on this for that whole class, right? To kind of say I've got 15 metrics of passing efficiency. And there's been some regression there. And I think we know that the way Cincinnati has played is they have a lot of talent. They rely on the chemistry of that talent. We've had questions about the running game since he's been there. Has it ever been answered?
No, I think every year running the ball.
A running game in spite of all the investments made in the offensive line. So that for me is it's just you're going to win a lot of football games with this nucleus of coach and play caller with Joe and the skill group around him. I don't question that, but it's just we just got done lauding Sean McVay for his evolution with the time that he's had as the head coach. Well, Zac Taylor's been the head coach of the Bengals. This is year 6. Are we going to get an evolution? What kind of evolution are we going to get? How big can it be? Can we change our identity a little bit? That's just a question I have with Zac Taylor.
My favorite young coach in the NFL comes in at 17 for us. Shane Steichen gets 2.5 points. He's in a bucket kind of by himself. I sung his praises recently where it's just man, that team was an inaccurate pass from Gardner Minshew away from winning that division and hosting a playoff game in year 1 where dude, everything went wrong there. Everything went wrong. The Jonathan Taylor situation, Anthony Richardson goes down. They don't really have a guy outside of Michael Pittman. Jelani Woods isn't available. Quentin Nelson's not the same. Isaiah Rodgers in that situation, you don't have any corners whatsoever. It's this team's
come on, now don't disrespect the 13 first and second year corners the Colts had last year.
Heck of a job, right, Shane? And then you think about Jalen Hurts. You go back to the Eagles. You're like, oh wow, Jalen Hurts is Michael Jordan with Shane Steichen, and then he's not.
So here's what I'll say: the same thing that we said about Mike McDaniel is going to apply to Shane Steichen. When you grade him as a play caller, he's going to grade more favorably than as a total picture head coach, right? So I think you look at the sample size as a head coach for Shane Steichen and say, it's a little small, but they did a great job last year. We know what it looks like as a play caller based on what he did in Philadelphia. And I think that gives you a little extra juice for him. He will score even more favorably than as a middle-of-the-pack head coach with a small sample size. Raheem Morris is kind of in a tier by himself from an average points perspective right below that. I would take a lot of the things that you said about Shane Steichen and I would apply them to Raheem Morris.
I'm excited for him in Atlanta.
Got his first head coaching job probably way too early, but I think those experiences and the time that has passed since and what he's been able to do with that time since it's passed, really exciting opportunity for Raheem Morris. I think he's going to do a good job of it, but it's just proof of concept and resume as a head coach. Stacking him any higher than this from an average perspective was a little incomplete.
Steichen and Morris could jump big when we do this next year.
Yeah.
Ross Jackson's going to be an absolute shambles, but I'm calling it wee woo 30 minutes into this podcast, and we got a bunch more to get to.
What is it?
The Jacksonville Jaguars have a pass rusher, wears number 41, has the same name as a quarterback that we all know. He is changing his name to Joshua Hines Allen. And so it's over. There's no longer two Josh Allens.
No more Josh Allens.
It's over. It's over.
I will say the nameplate looks good, doesn't it?
It's too long in my opinion, but
no. And he's doing it for good reasons about like
I know there's a great story.
Family lineage.
Yeah,
I dig it. I dig it a lot.
Elated for this.
I have another wee woo for you.
Oh God, here we go.
I've stumbled across a picture of an internet sensation wearing a Tua Dolphins t-shirt.
Okay.
The Hawk Tua girl.
No way.
Yeah. I'm going to send it to you. I have no idea I don't know if she's actually a fan or not. I just see the picture.
She has to embrace it. Now you just need to sign Matt Hawk back, right?
No, we will not. One replacement level punter is enough. Thank you very much.
But he's a great holder, Kyle Crabbs.
So is Jake Bailey, apparently.
No, but didn't Matt Hawk had that great fake punt or fake play or whatever one time?
What was it? A Mountaineer shot against the Eagles.
See?
The fake field goal for a touchdown with Jason Sanders. Okay, so you get to 19 down, and it's one of two things. Rookie head coaches, or we kind of know what you are and we just don't get overly excited about it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I love the way that you put that yesterday with the quarterbacks, and you broke it out again, and I think it's perfect.
So, like Mike McCarthy, Nick Sirianni, that's an individual tier of two coaches in this that are kind of next in line, and then it's Dan Quinn and Todd Bowles is really good defensive play callers, but we don't know how good of head coaches you really are. And Matt Eberflus, Brian Daboll, and do or die. See what feels like do or die seasons for them, respectively.
That guy's mad a lot. I felt like Brian Daboll was going to explode. He was red all season. Now he dropped a bunch of weight, looking good.
Did he?
Good. Yeah, he lost a ton of weight.
Maybe you got the CrossFit going like both of us.
We'll see. I don't know if he did that, but looking good. Looking good.
What rookie head coach are you most excited about?
Rookie, so meaning they have never coached in the NFL.
Never been a head coach before.
I think it's Mike McDonald with Seattle.
And that checks out because he's our highest ranked rookie head coach on the hierarchy for consensus rankings.
Defense is good, man. Good. They even the way they limited Kansas City in the AFC Championship game this past year. And I think there's a lot of defensive talent in Seattle. A lot.
Yeah, he has a lot to work with, right?
Yeah. I think he's I'm excited about. I don't know if he's gonna be good or not. He's the one I'm most excited about. Is Mike McDonald.
First head coach fired this year. True or false? A head coach will get fired before week 10.
We did this last year, and I said no, and it happened. Right? Frank Reich got fired.
Well, and didn't we had McDaniels too?
Yeah.
McDaniels.
Who's on that list? Who are we even thinking about as a possibility to get fired that early? Like, you make or break season, you feel like that's Brian Daboll, Robert Saleh,
Dennis Allen.
Oh, yeah, but what if Dennis Allen gets fired mid-season? I have a lot of questions about why he was the head coach to begin with. I still have a lot of questions as to why he's the head coach to begin with. Dennis Allen feels like a good choice.
Allen, by the way, in the tier with Gerard Mayo, Brian Callahan, and Dave Canales in head coaches.
Not where you want to be.
As coaches, we just have no idea. At least, unfortunately, we do have an idea with Dennis Allen. The proof of concept is large enough. It's trouble.
Is Nick Sirianni worth talking about?
Yeah,
you know what I
probably,
mean? Like they're
probably.
like legit rumblings that they were going to move on this offseason. They got Fangio and Kellen Moore on staff there. Like things go dicey. That team was horrible.
Yeah.
And I blame Nick Sirianni a lot for this. I know that his schemes offensively and defensively both suck.
Are you going to blame
That
him
guy's
for
the
yelling
head
at
coach, man.
Are you going to blame him for yelling at the Chiefs fans after they
That guy had no answers. He's the head coach. Like blame Brian Johnson and Matt Patricia or whatever you want all day long. You're the freaking head coach, man. That team, if there ever was a team that lacked leadership that was more obvious, it was the Philadelphia Eagles down the stretch last year.
Right. And the power vacuum was who's accountable for it? Who's to blame?
Right.
We've seen some blame thrown at Jalen Hurts.
Dude.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, but you've seen it kind of thrown at everybody. But have you heard Nick Sirianni mentioned in the midst of trying to take accountability for the lack of leadership? I don't know that you have. And maybe that's a very casual statement of me because I haven't done the investigation into that, but I would assume he should be at the top of the list.
100. The organization that fired Andy Reid, the organization that fired Doug Pederson after winning the Super Bowl, oh yeah, Nick Sirianni's high on that list. Now, if they win and they're a good team, which they should be, then he's going to be good. But things get off the rails, man.
What about Dallas?
High on the list. Can you hire Bill Belichick mid-season? You know the Bills did that with Marv Levy? He was hired like in the middle of a season.
I did not know that.
Isn't that absolutely insane? It worked.
So Dallas has an early bye, and before that early bye, they play at Cleveland, Baltimore, at Pittsburgh, and Detroit before Week 7 bye. As my question is, if it's bad, Mike Zimmer's on staff. Belichick's kind of been attached.
So the whole NFC East.
No, we're good with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's
right, because he's year one.
Right.
They couldn't get the guy they wanted.
There's a lot of pressure. Let's just say there's a lot of pressure in that division.
A lot of pressure
for coaches, for a lot of coaches that don't have a lot of representation high on our consensus rankings. But that's going to do it for the spotlight here on the coaches, the head coaches. We're going to do play callers, offensive and defensive. Yet this week, we have some other great content coming your way, so plan accordingly. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We're Locked On NFL Scouting. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We are out of here.